They hid this $3 rust killer for 80 years. Romans used it, the military proved it, and you can buy it today. Every single winter, every rain, every morning dew, it's slowly consuming the steel your vehicle stands on. And the auto industry, they've been charging you hundreds, sometimes thousands, to fix a problem that a $3 powder from your grocery store could stop permanently. Not slow down, not delay, stop permanently. That's not a clickbait promise. That's chemistry that Roman soldiers proved on the battlefield over 2,000 years ago, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to use it yourself. What they don't want you to read on that bottle. Walk into any hardware store today, go to the rust treatment aisle, pick up one of those flashy bottles, the ones with the aggressive branding, the industrial font, the warnings on the label that make it sound like you need a hazmat suit to open it. Flip it over. Find the safety data sheet section. Look for active ingredients. You'll see it. Right there. Tannic acid. The science behind why rust becomes its own shield is, honestly, pretty fascinating. For about 2,000 years, this knowledge was really just in the hands of craftsmen who knew it worked, and, well, that was enough for them. The explanation, though, came much later, back in 1813. That's when a French chemist managed to isolate tannic acid as a pure compound for the first time in recorded scientific history. He went on to meticulously document its reactions with iron oxide and publish those findings in one of Europe's leading scientific journals. For the first time ever, modern science could finally explain exactly what tanners and warriors had known since antiquity. Here's the chemistry, and honestly it's genuinely beautiful. Tannic acid reacts aggressively with iron 3 oxide, which is that crumbling, damaging orange rust you see on metal, and it converts it into a completely different compound called iron tannate. Specifically ferric tannate. It's this dark blue-black substance that's totally insoluble in water. It doesn't peel. It doesn't spread. It doesn't weaken the metal beneath it. And, get this, it bonds to the steel surface at the molecular level, permanently. Now you've got to understand the critical difference between this and, well, every standard rust treatment product you'll find on the shelf. This is chemical conversion, not just a surface coating. That distinction changes everything. A traditional primer or rust paint, it just sits on top of the rust. It's basically a bandage. Eventually water vapor finds its way into microscopic scratches in the coating. The layer lifts from below, and the rust re-emerges. You're right back at the hardware store, wallet open again. The conversion method doesn't just coat over the rust, it transforms the rust itself into the protective barrier. The corrosion that was destroying your metal actually becomes the shield that protects it. The disease becomes the cure. And honestly, that's not just marketing language. That's molecular chemistry, documented and verified across multiple centuries and multiple continents. When the most powerful military machine in history made its choice, it wasn't in some ancient Roman outpost or a Japanese forge. The real stress test for tannic acid happened during the deadliest conflict in human history, when the United States military discovered that rust was as dangerous to their war effort as any enemy weapon out there. Sherman tanks shipped across the Atlantic in those damp, salt-soaked cargo holds arrived in North Africa with corroded rail joints and degraded turret rings. Rifles, stored in the punishing humidity of Pacific Island depots, ended up corroding through their standard oil treatment in just a few weeks. Every corroded weapon meant a soldier who couldn't fight. Every immobilized vehicle meant a mission that couldn't move. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a strategic emergency. In the early years of the war, the United States War Department kicked off a materials preservation research program at the Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland. Researchers tested more than 200 different anti-corrosion compounds on bare steel panels inside an accelerated salt spray chamber, a machine that, basically, simulates years of harsh environmental exposure in just a matter of weeks. The results, which were declassified after the war, were, Well, absolutely decisive. A 4% tannic acid solution applied to rusted steel panels lasted more than 1,000 hours of continuous salt spray exposure without failure. The best performing synthetic coating at the time broke down at around 600 hours. Tannic acid really outperformed every petroleum-based alternative by a significant and reproducible margin. The military's response was immediate. Procurement officers started ordering tannic acid in large quantities for depots across all three major war zones: jeep chassis, ammunition cans, gun barrels, steel bridge components, ship hinges, landing craft. They were all treated with the same simple natural compound that Roman blacksmiths had used 2,000 years earlier. Just let that sink in for a moment. The most powerful military force in the history of human conflict, in the war that would determine the fate of civilization, chose a $3 plant-based extract over every expensive synthetic alternative the entire modern chemical industry could offer. And it wasn't because it was cheap, it was because it was better. The science backed it completely. How a natural compound became a $30 mystery bottle. So if this chemistry is so well documented, so thoroughly proven, so historically verified, why is the average truck owner still paying hundreds of dollars for rust treatment at shops? Why is there a $30 bottle on the hardware store shelf for something you can brew for $3? The answer is not a dramatic conspiracy. It's something more ordinary, and honestly, in some ways more frustrating, because it operates in plain sight. After 1945, American chemical companies had a problem. They had spent the war years investing heavily in manufacturing facilities for petroleum-based synthetic primers and rust inhibitors. They had built distribution networks, sales forces, and marketing departments around products that cost 10 to 50 times more to produce than natural tannic acid. A powder that anyone can mix in a coffee can for $3 is not a product opportunity. It is a threat to an entire business model, and the business model found its solution through a mechanism that required no conspiracy to execute. It simply required the logic of profit margins. Tannic acid cannot be patented. It's a natural compound found in tea leaves, oak bark, chestnut wood, grape seeds, and dozens of other plant sources. You can't build a subscription business around a powder that costs less than a fast food meal. You can't create a service empire selling a treatment that any person can apply with a foam brush in their driveway on a Saturday afternoon. You can't justify a $500 dealer rust protection package when the active ingredient can be brewed from a box of black tea bags. So the industry did what industry does when cheap natural solutions threaten expensive revenue streams. It repackaged the solution. It dissolved the same tannic acid in a petroleum solvent. It poured the mixture into a branded bottle with industrial-looking labels. It used regulatory changes in the 1970s that allowed manufacturers to list active ingredients under patented trade names. Simple tannic acid became a stabilized oxide modification compound or a rust conversion polymer system. The chemistry stayed identical. The vocabulary changed. The price multiplied by 10. The rust converter products currently sitting on hardware store shelves, most of them priced between $15 and $30, list tannic acid as their primary active ingredient on the safety data sheet, not as one ingredient among many, as the main one. You're paying a premium price for marketing, solvent, and packaging around something you can source yourself for the cost of a large coffee. To be genuinely fair here, commercial products do add stabilizers and surfactants that extend shelf life and make application easier. For industrial applications involving extreme chemical exposure, constant immersion, or high heat environments, specialized formulations exist for real reasons. But for 90% of what everyday people actually deal with, truck frames, hand tools, cast iron cookware, outdoor equipment, garden tools, farming equipment, the active chemical doing the work is the same powder, and the price difference between what you pay and what that powder actually costs is, by any measure, astonishing. The U.S. auto parts industry generates more than $300 billion in annual revenue. Corrosion-related repairs account for roughly 30% of the total. That's tens of billions of dollars flowing out of regular people's pockets every single year. in large part because most people were never told that a permanent solution costs $3 and requires a foam brush. The method. Exactly how to do this yourself. Enough history. Here's the practical knowledge. The same basic process the Romans documented, the British Navy tested, and the US military deployed across 3 war zones. Step 1. Buy food-grade tannic acid powder. Health food suppliers carry it. Bulk herb wholesalers carry it. Online suppliers have it readily available. A 100-gram bag costs between $3 and $5, and that quantity is enough to treat approximately 40 square feet of heavily rusted surface. This is not a small amount of coverage. Step 2. Measure out 4 grams of powder and dissolve it in 100 milliliters of warm water. Stir gently until completely dissolved. The liquid will turn the color of dark black tea. That's it. You've just made a rust-converting solution that outperformed the best synthetic coatings available during World War II. Step 3. Use a short piece of wire brush or coarse steel wool to rub the rusted surface briefly. The goal here is to remove loose, flaking material, not to sand down to shiny bare metal. This is a critical point to understand. The solution requires existing rust in order to work. It converts corrosion. It doesn't eliminate it. Surface rust that is still bonded to the metal is exactly what you need present for the chemistry to engage. Step 4. Apply the solution evenly to the rusted area using a cotton swab, foam brush, or spray bottle. Within 10 to 15 minutes, watch the surface closely. The color will change from pale orange-brown to a deep, dark, blue-black. That visible color change is the molecular conversion happening in real time. Iron 3 oxide is turning into iron tannate directly on the surface. You are watching ancient chemistry work. A brief but sensible safety note: tannic acid is a food ingredient and is non-toxic at normal handling levels. But at working concentration it can irritate skin and eyes. Wear gloves. Avoid splashing. Nothing dramatic. Just basic sense. Step 5. Let the treated surface dry completely. Allow 2 to 4 hours depending on temperature and humidity. Then apply a second coat using the same process. 2 layers ensure maximum conversion and comprehensive protection across the entire treated area. After the second layer dries, the surface is permanently stable and ready for whatever top coat you choose. Paint, oil, wax, rubber-based undercoat, polyurethane, all of them. Here's a bonus that commercial product instructions never mention. The converted iron surface actually adheres more effectively to paint and top coat than perfectly polished bare steel. The tannate layer provides a better bonding substrate. You get a better final finish on top of the converted rust than you would on stripped metal. Application tailored to what you actually own. For camping equipment, hand tools and knives, apply the conversion solution and then finish with a thin layer of boiled linseed oil or melted beeswax. These natural sealants complement the chemistry and protect from future moisture exposure without heavy coating. For cast iron cookware, which sees rust commonly in any home kitchen or outdoor camp setup, apply a thin coat to the rusted area, let it set fully, then wash and return to normal seasoning protocol. The cast iron goes back into service protected without any change to its cooking surface chemistry. For vehicle frames and undercarriage, work carefully into seams and hard-to-reach areas, allow full drying time, and follow with a rubber-based undercoating or a light application of used motor oil for additional protection and flexibility. This combination gives frame steel protection that many professional shops cannot match in terms of molecular adhesion. 100 grams of this powder is enough to treat the complete frame of a full-size truck, cover all the outdoor equipment on a homestead, and take care of cast iron maintenance for a full season. Total material cost around $3 to $5. Time investment, roughly 45 minutes on a weekend afternoon. Compare that to professional automotive rust treatment services that charge between $500 and $800 for a molecular process identical to what you just did in your driveway. This is not lost knowledge, it is buried knowledge. Every great civilization that worked with iron understood this truth. Roman legionaries knew it, standing above the oak bark tanning pits on the misty borders of their empire. Japanese blacksmiths knew it, carefully applying fermented tannin to folded steel in candle-lit workshops. Yoruba ironworkers knew it, rubbing bark extract onto their machetes before the monsoon arrived. Your own great-grandparents likely knew it, boiling oak bark or walnut shells in a cast-iron kettle every fall to protect the farm equipment that kept the family alive through winter. That knowledge didn't disappear because it failed. It was buried because it was too simple, too cheap, and too effective to generate the profit margins that the modern rust treatment industry is built on. The branded bottle on the hardware store shelf depends on you never flipping it over to read the ingredients. The $800 dealer rust-proofing package depends on you never understanding what active ingredient is actually doing the work. Chemistry doesn't negotiate with branding strategy. Iron tannate doesn't charge a licensing fee. And corroded iron has no brand loyalty. The past is not a collection of dusty dates. It's a survival manual that teaches you to see resources hidden in plain sight, question why simple solutions carry complicated price tags, and recognize that true independence is not a lifestyle trend. It is the oldest human tradition in existence. Roman soldiers practiced it. Pacific Island warriors practiced it. Depression-era farmers practiced it. And now so can you. One last thing before you go. If this changes how you look at the rust on your axe head, your truck frame, your cast iron skillet, share it. Not because anyone asked you to, but because this is exactly the kind of knowledge that compounds when it spreads. Every person who learns this saves money, gains capability, and becomes one step more independent from systems that profit from their ignorance. The next time someone at a dealership quotes you $600 to rust-proof your vehicle, you'll already know what's in the bottle. You'll know what it costs, and you'll know exactly what to do about it yourself for the price of a cup of coffee and an afternoon in the driveway. That's the point of all of this, not just the chemistry, the principle behind it. Stay prepared, stay curious, stay independent.